chemical composition and physical properties of plant viruses. Now we will see chemical composition of plant viruses and what are the chemicals that virus is made up of, and then physical properties of plant viruses. So my name is N.H. Shankar Reddy and I am doing PhD plant pathology in Annamalai University. Chemical composition of plant viruses. So the plant viruses is mainly composed of two components. The first one is the nucleic acid and the second one is protein coat. Now we will see one by one. The first one is nucleic acid. So the composition of nucleic acid in viruses, almost all plant viruses ranges from 5 to 40%. It's a very important. So this type of questions only we can see in national eligibility tests or some other entrance exams like that. So the composition of nucleic acid ranges from 5 to 40%. Almost all plant viruses fall under this group. So almost all plant viruses contains 5 to 40% nucleic acid, but there is an exemption called TMV. So TMV contains 5% of nucleic acid. TMV contains 5% of nucleic acid. So it contains DNA or RNA as a genetic material, but never both. So virus contains only one type of genetic material. So there is no genetic material that is both RNA and DNA can be never found in virus. So it contains only one type of genetic material, that may be RNA or DNA, but not both. So the elongated viruses contains low amount of nucleic acid. Remember here, elongated viruses contains low amount of nucleic acid, whereas spherical viruses contains high amount of nucleic acid. Spherical viruses contains high amount of nucleic acid. So best example we can see tobacco mosaic virus is elongated virus, so that it contains very less amount of nucleic acid, that to 5% of nucleic acid. So here the first scientists who discovered and who thought that the nucleic acid is the infectious material of plant viruses, Geiger and Schramm. So these two scientists are discovered that, so among protein coat and nucleic acid only has a role in infection. That was first discovered by Geiger and Schramm. It's a very important one. I had seen this question many times, more than 3 or 4 times in national eligibility tests. So nucleic acid is the infectious material of plant virus, which was given by Geiger and Schramm in the year of 1956. So here the weight of viral nucleic acid ranges from 1 to 3 million Dalton. 1 to 3 million Dalton. So here this nucleic acid can be obtained by different types of methods, or that is a host salt method or phenol method or a detergent method or alkaline method. These are the different types of method that we can obtain the viral nucleic acid from any plant viruses. I'm coming once again. The composition of nucleic acid in plant viruses ranges from 5 to 40%, but there is an exemption called TMV. TMV contains 5% of nucleic acid. So the viruses contains either DNA or RNA as a genetic material, but never both. One more point that I am including here. Most of the plant viruses, nearly 78% of the plant viruses contains RNA as a genetic material. That too, positive single-stranded RNA as a genetic material. Positive single-stranded RNA is the genetic material for most of the plant viruses. So as I told you, elongated viruses contains low amount of nucleic acid, whereas spherical viruses contains high amount of nucleic acid. High amount of nucleic acid. Here the first the first who discovered that the nucleic acid is infectious material, that was given by Geiger and Schramm. They told that nucleic acid is the infectious material of plant virus. So as I told you that weight of viral nucleic acid ranges from 1 to 3 million Dalton. So different types of methods are being here to isolate the viral nucleic acid. So next one is protein coat. Protein coat in the sense, or protective coat, we can also call it as a protective coat. So the composition of protein coat or capsid, protein coat is also called capsid, is the ranges from 60 to 95%. Almost all plant viruses protein coat ranges from 60 to 95%, but there is an exemption called TMV, which contains 95% of the protein coat. 95% of protein coat. As I told you, almost all plant viruses contains 5 to 40% of nucleic acid and 60 to 95% of protein coat. This is about for almost all plant pathogenic viruses, but there is an exemption called TMV, that is it contains 5% of nucleic acid and 95% of protein coat. So as I told you in the earlier PowerPoint presentation, that the protein coat is called as capsid. So capsid, the combination of capsids or the capsid as otherwise called as protein coat. This is a capsid is the structural unit for the combination of all the capsomeres. Here we can see here. Let us consider it is so. This is a single small subunits of capsomere molecules combined to form capsid. We can see here. This is called capsomere molecule. This is called capsomere. So many capsomere molecules are here combined to form a structure called capsid or protein coat. Capsid or protein coat. So here the protein coat only protect the nucleic acid. I told you earlier, nucleic acid is the infectious material. Protein coat has no role in disease spread or transmission. The protein coat only protect the nucleic acid. Let us consider, this is protein coat, this is nucleic acid. So this, when this virus enters into the plant cell, here the nucleic acid only infect the plant cell, whereas protein coat has no role of disease spread or transmission. Protein coat only protect the nucleic acid, only protect the nucleic acid. The nucleic acid is the main infectious material of plant virus. It is a very important one that we can take into consideration. So here the protein coat only protects the nucleic acid from unfavorable extracellular environment and has no role of disease spread or transmission. Here it facilitates nucleic acid entry into the host cell and interact with the vector for specific transmission. Here few of the human viruses and element viruses, it contains spike like substances or glycoprotein, what we can call it as glycoprotein. So these spikes can be useful for binding purpose. So these spikes can be used for binding purpose. So here the protein coat only protects the nucleic acid, and it also protects the nucleic acid from unfavorable conditions. But the nucleic acid is the main infectious material of plant virus. So different types of techniques or methods are used for the isolation of this protein coat. That is a PAGE technique, polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis. This is the technique which is used for isolation of protein coat, as well as the Western blotting is widely used for the analysis of viral proteins. So Western blotting is widely used for analysis of viral proteins. Now we will see some of the viruses and their nucleic acid content as well as a protein code. Before that, we are seeing that the chemical composition of plant viruses. So the virus mainly composed of two components, that is nucleic acid and as well as protein code. Now we will see some of compositions here. Almost all plant viruses that we already discussed, almost all plant viruses contains 5 to 40% of nucleic acid and 60 to 95% of protein code. And here some of the exempted viruses which having different or deviated from this content. Now we will see the tobacco mosaic virus, a very important one, which contains 5% of nucleic acid and 95% of protein code. Next one is turnip yellow mosaic virus, TYME, turnip yellow mosaic virus, which consists of 34% of nucleic acid and 66% of protein code. And potato virus X and potato virus Y, which consist of 6% of nucleic acid and 94% of protein code. And then cucumber mosaic virus, which consists of 18% of nucleic acid and 82% of protein code. And the last one is tobacco ring spot virus, TRSV, tobacco ring spot virus, which consists of 40% of nucleic acid and 60% of protein code. These are the different viruses with variety of nucleic acid as well as protein content compositions. But TMV is very important, which consists of 5% of nucleic acid and 95% of protein code. So you can remember this first. Physical properties of plant viruses. Now we will see, before that we had seen the chemical composition of plant viruses. Now we will see the physical properties of plant viruses. The first one is thermal inactivation point. Thermal inactivation point in the sense the temperature or the maximum temperature or the temperature which is required to inactivate the plant virus. To inactivate the plant virus is called thermal inactivation temperature. So the temperature in which the infective of plant virus is completely lost in the sense the maximum temperature or the temperature which is required to inactivate or to kill the plant viruses, or to loss, or to to get out of from the the infectivity rate is considered as thermal inactivation point. So thermal inactivation point in the sense the temperature that is required to kill the plant virus or to inactivate the plant virus is considered thermal inactivation point. So thermal inactivation point of plant viruses may be differ or maybe varies. Now we will see most of the plant pathogenic viruses thermal inactivation point is 55 to 70 degrees centigrade. So at this temperature we can kill or inactivate the almost all plant pathogenic virus except TMV, that is 93 degrees centigrade. For the thermal inactivation point of TMV requires 93 degrees centigrade. Here thermal inactivation point in the sense the temperature that is required to inactivate or to kill the plant virus completely or to last its infectivity rate is considered as thermal inactivation temperature. So after this thermal inactivation temperature, the plant virus can't able to infect or can't able to cause disease. So thermal inactivation temperature may ranges from 50 to 70 degrees centigrade for almost all plant viruses, but there is an exemption called TMV. Tobacco mosaic virus requires 93 degrees centigrade to inactivate the plant, that is TMV. The next second one is dilution endpoint. Dilution endpoint in the sense the maximum dilution, the maximum dilution the virus is still infective. The maximum dilution, at what maximum dilution still the virus is infective is considered as a dilution endpoint. In the sense the end dilution or the maximum end dilution in which the virus is still infective is considered as dilution endpoint. Or the here we can in the sense of definition, the lowest dilution or the maximum lowest dilution in the sense if you 10 to the power of 1, 10 to the power of 2, 10 to the power of 3, 10 to the power of go, it will goes on. The lowest dilution in the sense 10 to the power of minus 5, minus in the sense the dilution will goes down, that's they are telling the lowest dilution or the maximum dilution in which the plant sap or the virus is still infectious is considered as a dilution endpoint. In the sense here the lowest dilution at which the sap from an infected plant is still infectious. Let us consider if the a sap infected plant, best example TMV, if we had taken from a plant, the maximum dilution or the lowest dilution still the tobacco mosaic virus is still infective is considered as a dilution endpoint. So here the dilution endpoint also varies from virus to virus. For almost all plant virus the dilution endpoint ranges from 10 to the power of minus 1 to 10 to the power of minus 7, but the dilution endpoint of tobacco mosaic virus is 10 to the power of minus 6. So the maximum dilution or the lowest dilution still the tobacco mosaic virus infective is 10 to the power of minus 7, sorry minus 6. If it goes to minus 7 the virus can't able to infect. So the maximum lowest dilution is 10 to the power of 6 for tobacco mosaic virus. And one more example has been given here, that is carrot yellow mosaic virus, which is at 10 to the power of minus 4. So the lowest dilution in which the sap is still infective or still can cause the infection when we mechanically inoculated into the plants is considered as dilution endpoint. Now the third one is longevity of crude sap or longevity of crude sap, in the sense how much the maximum time the sap can be stored, how much maximum time that the virus can be stored is considered as longevity of crude sap. Longevity in the sense how much long we can store, so that we can fall under this longevity. Here we can see storage even after the sap losses infectivity is called as storage time, after which the sap losses infectivity is considered as longevity in crude sap or longevity of infectivity of plant viruses. So here the maximum storage time in which the plant virus sap can lose its infectivity is considered as longevity of crude sap. Here to determine the LIV longevity in crude sap, the sample can be normally stored at 20 degrees centigrade. So before performing the experiment, the sample has been stored or the collected sample had been stored at 20 degrees centigrade. So the in vitro longevity of infected sap of tobacco mosaic virus is 3000 days. It's been almost 9 to 10 years. So the in vitro longevity at in laboratory conditions, the infected sap of tobacco mosaic virus we can store it for almost 9 to 10 years, in the sense of 3000 days. the purified virion, if the virions are the matured virus particles is considered as virions, if the virions are purified from the sap, it can remains viable for 50 years. Remember, if the virions are purified, it can be still viable, it can cause infection even after 50 years when we kept at 5 degrees centigrade, when we kept at 5 degrees centigrade. Whereas one more example has been given here, that longevity of Nicotiana glutinosa is 102 hours, almost 4 days, 102 hours at 8 to 18 degrees centigrade. So there are the longevity of crude sap. So the next one is local lesion assay. Local lesion assay, in the sense, it is a tool which is used to measure, measure the amount of plant viruses which is present in the sap. So here, how this local lesion assay can be measured? Let us consider, in the sense, how much amount of sap prepared or present in the infected sample, which is directly proportional to the amount of lesions are produced on the leaf, or the number of lesions produced on the leaf. Here, remember, there is a separate PowerPoint presentation on local lesion assay, so that it will be very easy to understand on that. So that for your understanding, that I am telling, local lesion assay is a tool which is used to measure the amount of plant virus or amount of plant sap. So here, how we are measuring here, the amount of plant sap which is present in the infected plant, which is directly proportional to the number of lesions that is produced on the host plant when we rub onto the uninfected plant. Let us consider, if you had an infected plant on your hand, if you go and rub on uninfected plants, that they are telling the sap infected material, how much amount of sap it has in the infected materials, the number of lesions which is produced on the uninfected leaf is directly proportional to the amount of sap on the infected leaf, that they are telling, that is local lesion assay. So here, which is used for the estimation of infectivity and as well as preparation of pathogens. So regarding this, we will see in detail in later presentations.